Hi, it's Leslie Riley, author of Photo Memory Quilts, here to share a little video to accompany Vivien Zeff's review of my book for the SDA. You'll see a few images from the book and hear why I included them. My design board. Well, it was supposed to be my design wall, but it quickly turned into an idea catcher and inspiration board. I use it to save all the fabric combinations I come across while working and ideas that come to me while I'm working on another quilt. I'm sure that's something you can relate to. Notice how it's mainly comprised of layers, just like the layers you see in my quilts. I started making collages in my teens, and the process has been ever present in my work since. Collage is about piecing things together. It's just another way to make or piece a quilt, putting many pieces together to create a wonderful whole. School Days was designed to show the possibilities of using mixed media to create and tell a story. The pencils and flashcard are real. The rest is photos printed or transferred onto a variety of fabrics, along with a commercial fabric and trim. It is simply layered and stitched onto a felt backing. The quilt was made several years ago and is still an excellent teaching sample for me because thankfully, the principles and elements of art have remained consistent for centuries. There is a section and worksheet in the book that helps you to evaluate your work in progress in relation to art principles and elements. When something just doesn't look or feel right, you know it, but you do not always know what to do to fix it. By dissecting the quilt in progress into each element you're using and reviewing the principles as they apply to the elements, you can find a solution towards a better quilt. And there's likely more than one solution, right? Color as an art element really plays a large part in quilt making and storytelling, whether the quilt is traditional, modern, abstract, realistic, or a memory quilt. The secret is in using the right proportions of fabric and color. Sometimes just a little sliver of color can make the whole quilt sing. And I have one more important point to share about composition here. I designed this quilt intuitively and later realized it's an excellent example of composition in memory quilts. Follow the red arrows. You'll see the size and positioning of the shapes and elements, particularly the upward-looking eyes in the large image, lead the viewer's eye through the quilt. Strong verticals, assisted by the horizontals, ensure that people look at every element, not just rest their eyes on the one that first grabs their attention, the face. It's also a good example of how to cohesively incorporate several photos into one quilt and keep it interesting. Colorizing old photos can now easily be done with an app, but sometimes a black and white photo is what the piece calls for. I used a variety of fabrics and my collage style of quilting to bring color and joy to this piece. Varying the size, placement, and positioning of the photos also provides a way to create interest and movement, keeping the quilt from being static and uniform, and therefore it draws in the viewer. This quilt is comprised of 18 separate mini quilts that are joined with grommets and torn strips of fabric. I think it brings life, dimension, and a fun element to the story of my mom's life before me. This book on the left is my first book. Here it comes. My first book from 2005. The photo is the same as the one on the bottom left of my mother before me. It singles out one of the stories in the first quilt. It's the story of the summers my mother spent on her grandmother's farm. Chicken buttons and an ephemera image of a cow help to further the story. I even added text on the cow photo using Photoshop. It's a phrase my mom used to say to me, "Why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free?" I didn't fully understand it at first, and I bet it's something her grandmother said to her when she began to reach a certain age. If you'd like to learn more about creating photo memory quilts, be sure to check out the accompanying podcast of in-depth interviews with all of the contributing artists in the book. You'll discover a wealth of insight, information, technique, and sometimes laughter from accomplished quilters who work in a variety of styles. The interviews comprise an artful gathering of info that doesn't just pertain to memory quilt making, and sometimes not even quilt making. You'll be surprised at what you may learn, so give it a listen. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions or want to discover more, just click on either link on this page to reach me. Have a wonderful day.